Alley Boy and I hit the road, determined to get to the bottom of the mess we'd found ourselves in. We linked up with Louis Milito, who filled in some of the blanks. But what struck me as weird was that Louis's name was mysteriously absent from the whole ordeal. He seemed oblivious to the fact that he was even a part of it. Down in Florida, I grilled Alley Boy about the Dunn brothers, but he swore on his life he knew nothing. So we decided to turn ourselves in. What were we running from anyway? We hadn't killed anyone, but I knew the stakes were high. A frame-up can be more deadly than an actual crime, I warned. You never know what they'll throw at you. I was locked up in the Brooklyn House of Detention, staring at a $100,000 bail. Cuomo and Mattieri were in the same boat. Louis' bail was set at $75,000, and Mimi was MIA, presumed to be evading arrest. The rumor mill was churning out a story that Mimi's crew had taken out the Dunn brothers, and Hardy's fabricated tale was just a twisted revenge plot against Larry Marchieri. At 29, with a new family to provide for, I was facing a life sentence. Even with parole, I was looking at a minimum of 20 years behind bars. The DA, Eugene Gold, was a slimeball who only cared about scoring big headlines with Mimi's name attached. His assistant came to me with a deal. Flip on Mimi, and I'd walk free. But I wasn't about to sell out, not even to a guy who'd killed Jimmy Emma. I told the assistant to shove it. I didn't do anything, and I wasn't about to lie to get out of it. The three of us, Alley Boy, Louis, and I, had one major concern. Mimi. That guy was a menace. We knew his MO all too well. Whenever he got pinched, he'd take out anyone who could potentially testify against him, just to clear his own name. And since we were all tangled up in the same indictment, we were sweating bullets. So we made a pact in the joint. As soon as we got out, we'd take care of Mimi ourselves. We weren't about to wait around for him to make his move. But little did we know Mimi had already met his maker. Turns out the Colombo family had taken him out due to his shady dealings in the drug underworld. Meanwhile, I finally managed to post bail, thanks to Tato Aurello's generosity. He only charged me a single point on the loan, a small price to pay for my freedom. But Michael Hardy, that guy, was a real storyteller. He spun a tale about Louis Milito, setting up a meeting with Mimi and Larry Martieri, where they allegedly negotiated a hefty payday for taking out the Dunn brothers. And then he had us all gathered around, with Mimi going ballistic because we'd supposedly taken out the wrong brother. I mean, what was he expecting us to do? After hitting the streets again, I hightailed it back to Long Island, where I broke the news to my parents. I had to return to Brooklyn, no matter the cost. I told Mike Perry straight up, $250 an hour wasn't going to cut it, not with my expenses piling up like a house of cards. I gave him a nod of gratitude, but made it clear I was out there. Same went for Debbie's Uncle Danny. I was tapped out, living on fumes. My in-laws took us in, providing a roof over our heads in their cramped 5-room apartment. My wife, daughter, and I squeezed into one tiny bedroom, sleeping on mattresses, on the floor, like refugees. Desperate to pay off my lawyer and settle my debt with Tato, I hit the streets every night, 7 days a week, running wild with Alley Boy. I was trapped in a cycle of crime, always scrambling to scrounge up cash. But with each payment to my lawyer, my rep on the street grew. Sammy the Bull was a force to be reckoned with, a kid with grit and muscle. Alley and I went on a tear, ripping off anything that wasn't bolted down for a year and a half. We were like a force of nature, leaving no stone unturned. We'd pop car trunks, snatch golf clubs, bowling balls, tires, rims, you name it, we took it. We had connections to fence the goods, and our operation was a well-oiled machine. But while I was out on bail, the law kept nipping at my heels. 3 times I got pinched for weapons possession, burglary tools, and stolen goods. I copped to a few misdemeanors, but one case got tossed on appeal. The system was a mess, and none of these affected my bail status on the murder rap. In fact, only one of them even made it onto my record. The legal fees were bleeding me dry, though. I had lawyers working on multiple cases at once, and I had to shell out for an investigator on the murder case. It was like they were sucking the life out of me. And on top of that, I was trying to provide for my family. We were all crammed into my sister-in-law's place, with Debbie and the kid sleeping on the couch. I didn't even have a ride. I needed a steady income, and fast. That's when old man Rizzo hooked me up with a friend who was selling a luncheonette. Allie and I went in on it together, with Toto loaning us the cash for a point. Next door, a tailor shop was going under, so we snatched up the lease and turned it into a convenience store. We stocked it with all the essentials: groceries, smokes, ice cream, eggs, butter, milk, cheese, you name it. It was a hustle, but it was a start. I assembled a team of skilled carpenters to transform the space with rich wood paneling and a sleek dropped ceiling. The air conditioning system was already in place, so I focused on wheeling and dealing with various companies to outfit the joint. I struck a sweet deal with the milk company, and they installed the top of the line refrigerator. The ice cream vendor was next, and they hooked me up with a state-of-the-art freezer. Wise potato chips came through with custom racks and displays, and before long, business was booming. Meanwhile, my lawyers worked their magic to secure separate trials for the 4 defendants. By that point, even the notorious Eugene Gold, with his questionable morals, knew that Mimi, the key to his publicity, was long gone. But I was starting to sweat, wondering if I had indeed taken out the Dunn brothers. Hardy's story was convincing, with its precise details of meetings, times, and dates. Whether I was innocent or not, I knew I was in a world of trouble. That was until my father-in-law spoke up during a preliminary hearing, correcting Hardy's claim that we'd all piled into my white '72 Lincoln after a meeting. The thing was, I hadn't even owned that car back then. I'd bought it used years later. I had the proof to back it up. And suddenly I felt a glimmer of hope. The first to face trial was Montieri, and he walked free after the defense exposed one inconsistency after another in Hardy's tale. The following week, the Brooklyn DA. Office dropped the charges against me, Ali Boy Cuomo, and Louis Milito. If my childhood struggles with dyslexia had nudged me toward a life of crime, the indictment for the Dunn brothers' murder cemented my fate. That arrest changed everything. I was hooked, consumed by the thrill of the heist. I'd convinced myself I was ready to trade in my life of crime for a quieter existence on Long Island, surrounded by the comforts of family and a 9-to-5 job. Maybe even take a stab at entrepreneurship once I got my footing. But fate had other plans. The Dunn brothers' Job was the anchor that kept me tethered to the mob's gravitational pull. And then Toto Arello dangled the ultimate carrot, a proposal to be made in the Gambino family. That's when I knew I was in too deep to ever escape.